You are listening to Heroes Never Die, your one-stop spot for all the latest news, Overwatch League results, and mishaps in Overwatch. Here are your hosts, Totemly Drunk and Edinar.
What is up, guys, and welcome back to Heroes Never Die, your one-stop spot for all things Overwatch. I am your host, Totemly Drunk, and tonight on episode 124, we are going to discuss the latest Overwatch news. We will share our thoughts on this week's hot community topics, preview the first group stage of this year's Overwatch World Cup, and so much more. But before we can get into the news and introduce you to my co-hosts, I just want to take a moment to thank everyone who is hanging out with us for our live show over on Twitch, and of course thank all of our repeat listeners out there, and of course, thank Blackwatch Report for the host as they were wrapping up their Contender show tonight.
Yes.
And joining me tonight, as always, is my co-host Edinar. And Ed, it's been a pretty busy week for the Blizzard community. How's the week been treating you?
Pure flippin' chaos. The WoW expansion dropped. I am almost at level 116. I've only been able to play. I wasn't able to play at all yesterday because I had plans. So I played before the show tonight, and then Monday, right at 5 o'clock Central when it went live. So loving it, loving every aspect of it so far. And then, add on top of that, getting in some Overwatch games. Then add on top of that, the Hearthstone expansion dropped last week. So still dealing with all that craziness from the Mechathune decks. It's just, it's crazy, and in the best possible way. I'm having a blast. Playing Warcraft, having Contenders on my other screen. Getting to watch both of that, so it was a lot of fun. How's your week been? I know you haven't had a lot of gaming time available, but you've played some.
Yeah, it's been a stressful week and a half with everything going on with my mom right now. But she is getting released tomorrow, so she should be back home from the hospital, which is really good. I actually was gifted the Warcraft expansion by one of my friends, so I've been dabbling in it. I was really kind of on the fence about whether or not I would be given World of Warcraft another go, just because I've definitely had more fallen out of the genre. So after playing it for 10 and a half years, I was ready to move on, but the lore and the storytelling that they have done leading up to the expansion has really drawn me in, which is a complete 180 from what I would normally be doing with Warcraft. Because normally, I was always aware of the lore, but I was never, sinking my teeth into it. And this expansion is the first one since the game came out where, I am fully invested in this story. And while I can't guarantee I'm going to see the story through its entirety throughout the expansion, it at least has me hooked in for now. But in regards to Overwatch, obviously, we have summer games. I have not done my Copa Lucia Ball placements as of yet, but I guarantee you I'm going to place higher than what I do in normal competitive, because it always happens. When I was watching my niece and nephews, we were playing a bunch of, versus AI games, trying to, get about, 2k XP a game, just doing, custom games that way. So that's been fun. I've been practicing a ton of Hanzo. And it's what's funny is it's every time they want to play, they always want a DPS, and I purposely set all the A on hard because playing anything else is just too mind-boggling to deal with, right?
Yep.
So anytime they DPS, we get shut down. There's nothing I can do, because normally in that situation I would be healing, or I'd be on Brigitte, just trying to maintain one of our tanks. That usually doesn't work, but as soon as I make the switch to a DPS, everything seems to go smooth sailing. But really enjoying the summer games. I have not purchased any loot box bundles as of yet. I'm kind of waiting to see what I get before I pull the trigger on that. But we had Contenders Korea finals that went down, and if you didn't watch the Runaway versus Kontu Panthera match, just after the podcast and go back and watch all 8 maps. Yes, I said 8 maps because it went 8 maps because there was a draw in there, and you can probably guess which map it was on because it is kind of known for that because it is 2CP. But it was a long time coming, and Runaway finally got that big win. So the hashtag forever whatever place is officially back to Spider only. So I'm pretty happy about that.
That match was insane. Like, there's 2 matches in Overwatch history for me that have like stuck out as just being like, okay, I'm gonna remember these matches for years to come. The first one was USA versus South Korea in the Overwatch World Cup with Flower popping up. That was the first one. This is better. This Kangdu versus Runaways was better and more like you felt so emotional watching this match and watching Runaway like get the win and what they went through to actually get the win. They didn't, steamroll like a certain team from London. Like they fought tooth and nail for everything in that map, and it was an instant classic. So go watch it. I guarantee you will be happy. You just have to, spend like 4 hours watching.
That's if you watch everything. Obviously, you could skip through some of the talking bits and whatnot. But that Ilios as a whole, like, I have never seen so many environmental kills in one map in Overwatch esports. Like, it was just insane. Like, I don't know what they were feeding the Lucios, but it was Boop City for days.
If one of these new expansion teams does not sign just the entire team Runaway, I'm gonna be shocked. Like, just shocked. Like, yeah, you need to keep them as a team together. You just need to. They're too good. Oh, God, I can't wait to see them in OWL. Not with Chicago.
Oh, man. Yes,
we'll get to that later.
We're not bitter or anything. But anyways, let's go ahead and let's jump into this week's Overwatch news. So what seems to be an ongoing theme is we're getting a lot of new merchandise hitting the stores. And honestly, like, I'm excited about this new stuff. So if you're on the Blizzard Gear store, you may have noticed that, your favorite half onion, half octopus creatures, known as Apache Maris, are in full force because we got new miniature Apache plushies in the gear store. So, not only did they take over the Hanamura arcade, but now they're going to take over your home at a cost of $8 each. You can get 6 different variants available. So you have the original Apache, we got the Apache Lantern, the Vampire Apache, Snorkel Mari, Apache Keen, and Apache Lover. So 6 varieties in all, and as I said, they're $8. So, they're pretty light, only about, 1 ounce each, and this just is like the latest in like a slew of recent merchandise releases. Obviously, we've been talking a lot about, the Nerf Rivals that is coming out next year. We also have another pretty big brand that's going to be coming out next year, which we'll talk about here in a minute. Although we've had the expansion of the Tokidoki line. Now we have new Apache Mari skins, or plushes, and, World Cup is right around the corner, so you can expect to be seeing a ton of new jerseys, which, by the way, I am not a fan of the new jerseys for the World Cup.
No. I'm not. I'm not a huge fan of them either.
So, with the Overwatch League, we got so accustomed to seeing, like, the player name, like, on the shoulder. With the new World Cup ones, basically, you see the country colors. It has, like, the World Cup logo kind of, like, on the chest for the emblem. And then it has, like, the player name, like, on the top, like, below the neckline, basically. Mm-hmm. Which, it looks weird. Like, it just seems out of place.
No, it looks really out of place. I get why they did it, though. Like, so when they're on camera, you can see the name of the person, because not everyone knows what every player looks like. So when they show them on camera, you see the name, and we even talked about this last week. If the possibility of like personal cameras and like being on a single person, like you being able to control it, being able to see like the name on the jersey, you'll be able to do this. I get why they did it. I still don't like the look of it. I mean, I'm still gonna buy a jersey. I don't know of who yet. I'm leaning towards a certain Fusion University sniper.
You're assuming Widow's going to be meta. He might be on Sombra duty, if Contenders has proven anything.
But I'm leaning towards Zachary on this one, or Custa. Custa from Australia. I mean, how can you go wrong? As I sit here sipping from my Valiant glass, wearing my Valiant shirt, I'm saying I'm gonna, get a custom Overwatch World Cup jersey. So, I mean, they don't look the greatest, but I get why they did it.
Well, I mean, that too is also kind of assuming that they're going to release that type of jersey too, because last year they didn't have the player names on the jerseys. So we'll definitely have to keep an eye on that. But speaking of other merchandise for Overwatch, obviously, we have the LEGO deal that's going through. That'll be coming in 2019, and actually launched the LEGO Overwatch page on their website, and really there's not a whole lot going on. Basically, like, it just shows like the Overwatch logo as well as like a teaser slogan that just states, "Let's get this moving," and there's kind of like a faded image in the background that kind of looks like the Numbani airport. So maybe we're gonna get like map playsets, but kind of like looking at the Lego line as a whole. Like, I know for like some of the Marvel superheroes, they have like, I'm trying to remember like how tall they are. They're probably like 4 or 5 inches, where it's just like character models. Like, are you expecting we're gonna get just like map sets, or are you expecting more of like the character models that are just more souped up?
I think they're going to do things like, I don't know if we'll get map sets. I think we're going to get like payload sets, or something like you'll get a payload and then you'll get souped up, like you'll get different skins, or like with McCree, you'll get a different cape or a different hat. You could get different guns, something like that. I don't know. I honestly, this is something that I like that they went with a LEGO partnership. It doesn't make that much sense to me. Like, I will buy every Overwatch LEGO they have. Plain and simple. It's just like, we don't have an iconic, like, there's no iconic set for Overwatch. Like, you don't, like, when you think Harry Potter, like, if you look at like a lot of the other like big Lego sets, you think Harry Potter, Star Wars. Well, Harry Potter, they have the school, they have the Death Star. What does Overwatch have? Like, are you going to be doing the castle from Eichenwald? Are you going to be doing something in King's Row? Like, I don't get what they're going to do with it, but I know I'm going to buy all of it. Every last single ounce of it. I'm more excited for this than any other toy set that they've announced. Like, more so than Nerfs or anything like that, because I love Lego sets. My dream is to have the Death Star Lego. But I just can't bring myself to spend like $300-400 on a Lego set. But Overwatch, they're teasing me, and I like it.
Yeah, and like, this will give you an opportunity to yell, not only in game but outside of game with Overwatch things related, because we've all stepped on Legos. It hurts like a son of a bitch. But one of the things that we might get to see, LEGO does do a lot of spin-off type stuff. You know, we've seen video games, we've seen TV series, and, you know, you and I talked about, you know, the lack of animated shorts, right? So,
What's an animated short?
yeah, like, where are they? Where's the new season? Well, you know, who knows? Like, there might be a TV tie-in. Maybe that's the reason behind the fact that we haven't gotten anything since really... Like, was the May short the last one, or was it the Reinhardt one? It's been a while. It's been that long that I can't remember the exact time frame.
I think it was the Reinhardt one. Did Eichenwald come after BlizzCon? Because May was at BlizzCon. God, I don't even know. But no, I think this could lead to something. I don't think like a TV show. I think it could be a movie, perhaps. But I think that's far down the road. I fully expect one of the top 3 announcements at BlizzCon is going to be some sort of show, movie, something of that nature about the Overwatch, Overwatch lore. Like, it's going to be that Diablo 4 or Diablo whatever, and then whatever they decide to announce for World of Warcraft. It's going to be those 3 things. And yeah, like, it could be like, I mean, look at the actual Lego movie and how massively popular that is. And look at could you imagine Lego Overwatch video game? Because, I mean, that's where you get a lot of these Lego, like, spin-offs, is you get Lego Jurassic Park, you get Lego Harry Potter, Lego Star Wars, like, all these Lego video games. And it's weird to think of a video game hiring Lego to produce a video game. But it's not, that's the outside thinking that Blizzard has.
Right.
Like, that's something, if Blizzard was like, okay, we're teaming up with Lego to make like a teenage-friendly console game about Overwatch, I'd be like, it's actually kind of brilliant, because it's teenage-friendly, but every Overwatch fan, regardless of age, is gonna also buy that game.
The cynic in me just thinks like, okay, like, everyone, like, not everyone, some people want like that single-player campaign, right? There you go. It's gonna be in the Lego version of Overwatch.
And if they did that, I would be first in line to buy that game and be like, give me lore, give me lore, give me lore, give me lore. So, yeah, I love it. I'm gonna go so broke next year. So many of these toys have been announced for next year that you're just like, I need a loan.
Well, it's a good thing I've already paid for the statues that I want.
I have resisted the statues. I have my Soldier 76 from my collector's edition, and that's it. For now.
Right. But anyways, let's go ahead and let's move into this week's hot community topic. So, obviously, the World Cup is coming up. And, yeah, in case you guys were wondering what maps we are going to be seeing in the World Cup this year, well, all of them. All 16 maps in the game are going to be in the pool. And you know what? This has been, like, a big talking point amongst the competitive community since the game came out. They have been very vocal about having to practice on all the maps, and just how that decreases the competitive integrity of the game. So, we know, like, the World Cup, obviously, you know, there's a huge variety of, you know, pro players from, like, the top level, obviously with the Overwatch League, to people that competed in contenders, to, you know, even some players that probably came straight from ladder or the open division, things like that. And, you know, having all the maps in the pool kind of allows these more kind of like niche type map types that kind of have their own meta to them, like, say, Junkertown. Obviously we see Pirate Ship quite a bit, or, Double Sniper, things like that. It kind of allows, like, some of these lesser-known countries to bring a certain flair to these different, maps that might not always get seen play. But I want to get your thoughts on just having all of the maps in that pool, knowing that, there's just so many to prepare for going into the World Cup.
Good. I am actually happy about this. Like, yes, the pros may be upset that they have to practice on all 16 maps, but from a business standpoint, Overwatch is like, okay, here we're only going to show part of the maps that that you have to play. You don't get to see it like we went in the Overwatch League. We went months between seeing the same map twice in some instances, and I don't think that's right. I think Overwatch as a whole needs to like kind of like show everything it's got. Yes, the pro players have to practice all these maps, but it's not like any team is at a disadvantage. Like, because if one team has to practice all 16, so does the other team. And it's like, and it makes it more normal. Like, we don't get to choose what maps we play when we play comp or quick play. We get entered into a random pool with all the maps. Why should you be any different? So I personally hope that they bring this over to the Overwatch League. That's me personally. Like, still break it up between, control point, 2CP, like all that stuff. Still break it up into those, but get all maps for every stage. And you don't really know, and it changes. So everyone's still on the same footing. It's just you may not get practice on every map as much as you had previously. So I think that they should keep it like this for everything, especially because they're gonna be adding more maps. Like they get 3 a year, 4 a year.
Mm-hmm.
What happens when stage 2? Season 2 kicks off, and I'm doing it during the off season. What the hell?
Yeah, that's a take a shot moment.
Yeah, but like next season, we'll have Rialto, which wasn't there before. We'll have another new map that they'll announce at BlizzCon. I mean, it's not confirmed they will, but I'd bet my life savings on it.
Yeah, the Battle Royale map, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So like that will be part of season 2. So I mean, if they keep adding maps, which they will be, how do you go a whole season without seeing a map? Like, I mean, we're ways off from that, but it will eventually get to that point. Why not nip it in the bud early and just say every map is like available? Deal with it, and no one's at a disadvantage. So that's my personal feelings. How do you feel?
I'm okay with it, with one caveat. Just remove Temple of Anubis. My problem with Temple of Anubis is, like, anytime I watch Anubis, like, I know how the game is going to end. Like, the end of the match is never, in question.
But it makes for exciting. It makes for exciting watching. It does.
It depends on how snowball heavy it is. Because, yes, it can be exciting, but then there's also times where it just kind of makes you roll your eyes and be like, oh, here we go again. Attack number 3.
But that's 2CP
right.
For you. Like, Volskaya can get the same exact way. I mean, Anubis is a little bit out on its own because for some reason, like, the spawn is crazy close to the point in Anubis. Right. And it's like, okay, well, it was a team kill, but they probably will still all come back and win the point over. But, I mean, it makes for exciting. It's just, they could maybe make some tweaks They need to make tweaks on
more
a couple
tweaks.
of maps. A couple of maps.
Yes. Yeah, and another one being Rialto, right? So Rialto, from what we've seen lately, is pretty defense favored. So there's a post over on the Overwatch forums, that was kind of like talking about the balance of the map, and it prompted a response from our dad and savior, Papa Jeffy Cap, praise him. And he came in and said that in the past week, attackers have won 42.88%. We always try to balance towards a 50-50 win rate. We have some minor tweaks we can make to bring the map more in line. And we were looking at it last week, as well as early this week. While it's not perfect, it's also not hugely out of line. Okay, so, looking at that number, yeah, that's a pretty big difference.
Yeah, just a little.
Yeah.
And the thing is when they announced it, my first initial thought was, yeah, that seems about right. Like, you're just like, yeah, no. Attack is pretty horrible on that map as a whole. And it's not the whole, alright, it's not the whole map. Honestly, it's that first corner. It's getting over the bridge and getting around the turn at the buildings. Once you get past that, I say it's 50-50 and well balanced. Personally. It's that first, like, start moving the payload, get it to turn, you're just like, oh god, this is gonna suck.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, no, it needs to be tweaked. It needs to be tweaked real bad. I don't know what they can do to those opening points to make it swing. Like, I was trying to think of it, because what exact changes they could make, because it's not like, the only thing that first popped into my head is have more spots for cover for the attackers, like leading up to the point. But even then, it's not that's not that drastic. So I don't know. I have no idea what they could do.
Yeah, because when you look at Rialto, there's a ton of high ground, and there's a lot of cover for the defense there at the start. And obviously, the payload kind of starts, like, right at the attacker spawn. There's, like, that little, like, wall that kind of, like, splits off, which path you go. But then, you just meet right at the payload, and it's literally right there. But, there's a ton of, side paths. You have the gondolas, which, might end up saving your life if you get booped, by all those bloodthirsty Lucios out there. But there's just a ton of flank opportunities on this map in particular. But, it's just that first turn just seems to be, like, the absolute worst thing. And it doesn't help, like, when we talk about the sightlines on this map, it's pretty much a sniper's haven.
Oh, yeah.
So
I mean, I am that guy on this map. Attack or defense, I insta-lock Widow. Like, insta-lock Widow. Because it's just like, it's so strong. At any point on attack and defense, any point, Widow is strong. And that is not that common to see. And that's another problem that's kind of, it's like, it's Widow, Hanzo. Well, Hanzos are strong on every map on attack and defense at this point, but like Widow and Pharah are dominant on this map.
Yeah, and this is not like the first time they kind of talked about tweaks to maps. Obviously, we had the Horizon Lunar Colony kind of like overhaul, where they added a bunch of like botany. They added they like took out like one of the major like attack points where a lot of people were doing, quad tank and just, rushing straight to the point. So I don't know if it's just a matter of, kind of tweaking the high ground in regards to the defense vantage points or just opening up a bit more when you're on the attack. But it looks like this is something that they're aware of. So, like, I would expect to see some changes here. Maybe, like, not right on horizon, but this is definitely going to be on their radar to get looked at here in the future. But, I want to talk about another thing that's kind of like, just like actually came out that has been kind of dividing the community in regards to whether or not this is an educational tool or if this is to be considered cheating. So, there is a San Francisco-based performance analysis company, Visor, that is looking to make you better at Overwatch. This company has raised $4.7 million to develop what is an artificial intelligence system which analyzes Overwatch gameplay to provide you with instant feedback as a player. So basically what this program does is it has alerts that will notify you when ultimates should be prioritized or when healers need to be focused. Like, it'll tell you if the enemy team is trickling in, or like when you need to like play aggressively to capitalize on something like a trickle. And when the match is completed, like, you get a post-game summary once it's all said and done. And it basically like uses the data from the game to remember like your player history and understand just how the specific game works. Now, this has been something that's kind of been worked on for a while. The company basically prototyped a build with the Overwatch University subreddit to kind of prepare for its beta launch, which I don't remember if it started today or yesterday, but it's available to download on their website. But like, this has been a huge divide with the community. A lot of players are kind of like iffy at the fact that this could be considered a cheat. But like, I'm pretty sure like they've been in contact with Blizzard and they outright said like it's okay. Like, it's not necessarily telling you exactly like how to play the game, but like I feel like with like the ult management side of things, like that should not be alert based. That needs to be something that's posted like at the end of the game. But like it kind of gets to the point where like game sense is something that you pick up over time. It's not something that like you shouldn't have to rely on a program in order to know what to do in certain situations. So I kind of want to get your thoughts on the idea behind this program and whether or not this is something that you would be looking at as opposed to, say, coaching services or something similar to that.
Like, when I first read this, my initial thoughts were, okay, this is cheating. Like, this is, basically, it's not aiming for you, but it's doing everything outside of aiming for you. But then the more and more I thought about it, it was more, it's more to the intent of it. It's more of the coaching aspect of it. Like, it's no different than having somebody coach you and being like, okay, now use your ult now. This is the perfect time to use your ult. Use it now, or go up here, do this, or go up here, do that. It is no different in my mind than a coach. It's just not a physical person. It's a program coaching you. Like you said, they would not have spent $4.7 million if they did not have the approval from Blizzard. Because, I mean, if they spent 4.7 on this and Blizzard, day one it goes live, is like banned for using this, company's out of business. Like, it really is. So they probably have the A-OK from Blizzard, which is awesome for the company, that is. I can see it almost boiling down to, I don't know if the tech is out there. I'm sure it is. But not allowing this in comp, like Blizzard not allowing this in comp, but allowing it in all other game modes. There's probably a way to track it. And they would probably be working with Visor to kind of integrate it together, almost kind of like with Curse and the mods for World of Warcraft. Visor is essentially a mod for Overwatch, and they could restrict where it's used. I think in comp, if people use it and other teams aren't, you're obviously at an advantage. obviously. So I like the idea of this. If I will probably use it just because I want to see what it's like. I could always use help. And anyone outside of like the top 500 probably could use this. Like, really, like everyone could get a little better or do something a little different. It's just it's a computer coaching you instead of an actual person. So I'm gonna hold off judgment till they actually release it and we figure out how Overwatch is going to work with Visor to deal with it. But I'm cautiously optimistic that this is going to work out well.
Yeah, like maybe this is something like we should test out, like when we're just doing arcade shenanigans. Cause like when I kind of like look at what this program is doing, like it's basically just using the information that's already there. So like I have a feeling like with the alt track-in, which necessarily like isn't exactly true in the sense of the name itself, because it would notify you like when a character is going to earn an alt within like 10 seconds or whatever. And I think it's just like reading the kill feed to kind of like determine that, or just read in, just kind of like the tab feed or the kill, whatever you want to call it, the other score screen. But like, I personally don't have a problem with it, because there's already tools out there. Obviously, Wawa's Bootcamp has been around for quite some time. We can get free coaching. There was, even the NYXL Wizard has coaching services available, which you would have to pay for, which I saw was posted earlier this week. But I want to see this firsthand before I really, like shy away from it, really. I'm curious to see what information it's actually going to display and how I'm able to adapt that in future games. So I'm not going to be like, yeah, this is outright cheating, but like there does seem to be a lot of back and forth with the community right now. But I also feel like just initially upon reading this, there's a lot of misinterpretation going on in regards to what this program is actually going to do. So I'm gonna dig deeper. I do have it downloaded. I'll check it out, and I'll probably report back with you guys on our next show about it. And maybe I'll even have it up on Saturday when I stream, so we can all take a look at that. So we'll see what exactly it does. We'll see if it's actually worth getting. But right now it is in beta. So keep that in mind, because things in beta don't always necessarily work as they are intended to. But anyways, let's go ahead and let's shift gears as we go inside Overwatch Contenders and the Overwatch League. So looking at contenders that are, we have the NA playoffs going on. We're actually all the way through the semifinals. So who's made it to the grand finals? What's been going down?
So a lot of actually pretty good games. So we'll start off. Fusion University defeated Toronto Esports, the Uprising team, 3-2. And then Team Envy, the field team, defeated LNL. And as you know, we are all for sugar-free. We're like the Coke Zero. We are sugar-free. Team Envy defeated LNL 3-2. And that was like both good games. XL2 Academy defeated Mayhem Academy 3-0. Not a good game. NRG Esports defeated the Gladiators Legion 3-1, which was surprising because we both picked Legion to beat NRG. So that was nice and shocking. Fusion University whooped on Team Envy 3-0. And then XL2 Academy defeated NRG Esports 3-2 in what was also a very good game. So it ends up being Fusion University against XL2 Academy in the grand finals. This is my shocked face. I'm shocked.
Wow.
Who's in the finals.
Wow, the two best teams with the two best records made it to the grand finals.
Yeah, it was like there were good matches in there, and one more thing. TW1 defeated Team CC, the Shanghai Dragons team, 3-0. So Shanghai team lost again. Shocking news. But back to the NA scene is it was kind of a running joke. Like everyone wants to know what Hammond is going to be like in the meta, and we saw a lot of Hammond. We actually saw a lot of Hammond, and if his win rate was above like 20%, I would be shocked. Like Hammond was just not good, and I think the reason and probably one of the top 3 players in contenders is Zachary, like DPS at least wise, and he was on Sombra all the time, and Hammond is good. It's just he's so crazy easily counterable by stuns and hacks. So you're talking McCree, Baguette, Sombra, Roadhog Hook, anything like that can stop a Hammond in its track. And once they do that, Hammond's basically done. Like if you stun a Hammond, they're generally dead on the spot. They can't escape quick enough because there's a little ramp up time for them. So like you saw Zachary on Sombra, you saw a lot of Sombra, you saw a lot of Hammond, and Sombra definitely came out on top in the battles. So that's to all you tryhards out there. Hammond is not necessarily the best character. If the other team is not running anyone who can stun you, Hammond is fine. If they are running anything that can stun, hack, or hook you, get off Hammond. And that is what we learned. Like Hammond is the only reason Fusion University versus Toronto Esports was 3-2. Because Toronto Esports was actually up 2-0. Because Fusion University ran Hammond the first 2 maps and just got destroyed.
Yeah, Base Halo was just like, no, I'm running the other modified animal.
Yeah, like
not work.
Get me the hell off Hammond. And then they reverse swept Toronto Esports. Like it was no big deal. All because of Hammond. Like, so Hammond needs work. Hammond is not a meta-defining character. He's just not. So get that in your minds, people.
Yeah, there's a ton of experimentation going on with Hammond. So we saw that like in the Contenders playoffs as well. You know, we saw Hammond kind of like worked into like dive comps. We saw Hammond being ran as like a solo tank, as main tank. We saw him paired with a Doomfist, which actually was pretty damn good, which was pretty interesting. But we saw a ton of Sombra, far more than you and I expected to see, because, you know, kind of like looking at the ladder, like, it's a completely different scene right now. And then when we see how Contenders is kind of shaken up, like, we see Sombra in pretty much every single game.
Yeah, no, Sombra's in every single game, and using the exact way you said it. It's Sombra now is the setup for a dive comp. Like, and that's what we're really seeing her as. The Sombra we're seeing in Contenders, and we will see in the World Cup, and we will see in OWL Season 2, is not the Sombra that you will see on ladder. The type of coordination, like, it is like if there is a giant like poster of teamwork in Overwatch, it would be a Sombra dive. And that's what these teams have. They have that teamwork to do that. In ladder, no teams have that kind of teamwork and that timing and the way things go like that. So you will never see as successful of a Sombra in the ladder as you do in the Overwatch League. Like, Sombra will get played crazy amounts for the same reason that you're seeing Widow played crazy amounts in ladder, is because they see it in the Overwatch League. Well, their aim in the Overwatch League is godlike. Your aim most of the time is not. Like
what? I'm just amazing. What are you talking about?
No, I know you're a hard Hanzo carry, but but like it's one of Sombra's like the next character to show up all the time, probably in OWL or anything like that. That does not trickle down into into the ladder because of teamwork and teamwork alone. So don't worry, you're not. I mean, you're going to start seeing Sombras everywhere, but the teams that have the Sombra are probably not going to win that much. So
the only thing I'll add on to this is I wonder if Team USA is regretting not having Dante on the roster now, since Sombra is meta and in every comp practically.
But they have the prodigy Zachary, who was playing and played Sombra well.
Just not as good as what we see on other characters, but that'll come in time. But yeah, I know what you mean.
Like it's just one, like they have a Sombra player on the team, and that Sombra player is probably also one of the top 3 Widowmakers in the world. Like Dante is not one of the top 3 Widowmakers in the world. I don't even know if Dante is the best sniper on his team. So like, they went with the right decision, but man, Dante is good on the Sombra.
Right. I would just be curious to see how he does on the new Sombra, since most of the stuff we saw was on the prior iteration. But anyways, speaking of contenders, we have an update on academy teams. So Gen G, who is the parent organization of the Seoul Dynasty, is looking to recruit players and coaches for Contenders Season 3 for Korea. So obviously this team would serve as Dynasty's affiliate or, academy team, whatever you want to call it. And they said that they are looking to recruit players rather than buying out an existing Korean Contenders team. I'll have more on that in a second. So as of right now, Dynasty are only one of 2 Overwatch League franchises that do not have an academy team. The Overwatch League team without one just so happens to be the team that you are repping right now, the LA Valiant. Mm-hmm. So, assuming that this actually goes through in regards to Contenders Korea, this would be the only academy team in what is without question the toughest region in Contenders for Overwatch. But
okay, so here's the deal. If they're not recruiting like actual Contenders teams, they're going to be worse than the Dragons. Like, if you're not recruiting an actual Korean team and you're recruiting individual players, now granted they could get individual players from other Contenders teams. Like, they could, in their mind, they could think, okay, we're going to pull the best player from this Contenders team, mm-hmm. so on and so forth. But it could also be a thing of, okay, we're going to get these 10 players who aren't on Contenders teams. Well, probably not the best idea. Like, because the top 4 in the Korea Contender scene are better than some of the Overwatch League teams. Like, it's kind of proven. Didn't like Runaway face essentially NYXL plus Carpe
as a show match? But yeah,
as a show match, and won.
Took him 5 maps, but yeah,
it took him 5 maps, but he still won. Like, it's one of those things. It's like, maybe you should just get a whole team. I don't know if it would cost that much, and it's not like any of these teams are hurting for money. Like, I can say that now confidently. These teams are probably already making good quantities of cash. With all of these high-end deals they're making and the revenue sharing that's going on and stuff like that. So, but they know more than we do about the inside of this stuff. So in Seoul we trust, except if it comes to making the playoffs.
Well, who knows? Maybe with the new coach and staff, we'll see a turnaround. But, like, okay, so obviously, we have these expansion teams coming in. You and I kind of talked about, well, do we think they're going to go the route of them just kind of like Frankenstein in a roster, or are they just going to sign whoever, Runaway, Element Mystic, maybe even XX Gaming. You never know. KDP again. The restructured Con2 Panthera, not the KDP that is, the majority of the Overwatch League champions in the London Spitfire. But I'm kind of scratching my head. I was like, okay, so Dynasty don't want to sign an existing contenders team.
Mm-hmm.
So does this mean that they're going to have to earn their way into contenders? Are they basically going to have to start from open division to qualify for trials in order to get into contenders for, this upcoming season? Like, I don't know exactly where they're going to start in the path to pro. Because initially, like, we look at the NA side, when NA Contender Season 1 kicked off this year, it was basically like all the academy teams basically just had their own spot, and that made up the vast majority of that region. But, this is the first academy team for Korea, so I don't know where exactly that's going to get situated.
Yeah, I thought about this the other day where like especially with NA and us getting 2 new North American teams in the Overwatch League, which we'll go over again later. Shake fist. It's like the contenders teams or the affiliate teams of the Overwatch League literally could make up the entire contenders roster. Like all like what, 12 teams? I think it's in NA contenders. I think we have 12 North American teams now with the 2 new ones. Like eventually it's just going to go to, okay, here's the minor league teams. Like that's what it's going to come down to, is here's the minor league teams for the OWL teams. I don't know if that's the right way to go about it, or if contenders will expand how many teams are allowed into contenders. That's another option that they could do, because they're going to run into a point, like if they get one more NA team, no matter what, next year, even if every affiliate team places top 13, if they get one more, one's going to be left out. Like, and that's not something that the Overwatch League probably wants. So I can see them maybe upping the amount of teams. So you give those organizations that are not affiliates like that small glimmer of hope that they can get in. Now in Korea it's different. They only have one team. They only have one team, probably 2. Once it's all said and done, season 2 comes around. Again, talk about that later. But they could also start allowing like these affiliate teams. Like, who says the LA Valiant? Like, the LA Valiant could buy a Korean contenders team, and they could compete in that scene or in the EU, and that could stretch it out too. I mean, it was obvious Seoul is going to do it. It's obvious the Valiant are going to do it. It's obvious the Atlanta Slambos, the GM team, is going to do it.
The Atlanta Airports.
The Atlanta Airports. At least they got the airport. And the other, oh God, I'm not even going to attempt it. The other team in China will have an affiliate team. Like, so I think they should be able to give the teams the choice of what division they want to have their team in. That would alleviate a lot of it and actually open up the chance for, like, it would improve okay, you're not on an affiliate team, but you can still be in contenders and prove yourself. You can't prove yourself in NA contenders right now for next season. You just can't. So how would we know about Sugar Free? Like, if LNL wasn't in contenders, like, we may have heard of Sugar Free, probably not.
Yeah, like, it would have been based on, like, word of mouth, or, like, if one of the pros, was on the same team or went up against them, and we heard about it that way, like, through a Twitch stream or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's this 13-year-old prodigy right now called Rhino.
Hmm.
I think it's Rhino.
Yeah.
Like all the pro streamers are like, yeah, no, dude's good. The 13-year-old's good. And like, so of him word of mouth, but like, what if he signs with a non-affiliate team? If he signs at all, like, who knows? Like, so I think I think you're gonna see, maybe not after this season of Contenders, maybe after the next one, you're gonna start seeing some pretty massive changes to Contenders to kind of accommodate all the Overwatch League teams and the non-affiliated teams. So I just went on a pretty hardcore Overwatch Contenders rant. All right.
Wow, look at you.
Like, okay, Ed, shut up about Contenders. All right, gotcha.
What I will say is, though, I do want to see more Academy teams in Korea. And for that matter, like, if you want a trial by fire, that is where you want to go.
Mhm.
But anyways, moving on, we do have some updates in regards to the All-Star Weekend festivities. So we finally got some more details. So, we already talked about, Prophet filling in for Bird Rain. And we do know what the skill matches are going to be on August 25th. So, first up, we have Lucio Ball Showdown. We have your favorite Mystery Heroes, which is one that you've been hoping for. We have Widowmaker 1v1, Lockout Elimination, and Talent Takedown, which has some teams of Overwatch League casters and the analysts. So that should be pretty interesting. And we have the roster details in regards to that. But in regards to the All-Star game in itself, which is on Sunday, August 26th, so we got the Atlantic Division going up against the Pacific Division, and this will be a 5-map series played on Kings Row, Rialto, Horizon Lunar Colony, Route 66, and Ilios, with substitutions only being available between maps. Now, I'm pretty sure they had posted the Widowmaker 1v1 bracket. I do not have it handy, so I don't know what matches we're going to be seeing. I heard, like, Soon got the short end of the stick, but I don't know the details in regards to that in itself, so I'll be looking at that here in just a minute. But we do have some more details on the Talent Takedown. So this basically features, like, 2 drafted teams of, some of the casters, some of the Overwatch League analysts, and the teams are going to be competing in a best-of-3 series, obviously using the competitive standard settings. So map 1 will be played on Kings Row, and then the losing team will get to select the next map. So if we're tied 1-1, we will have a tiebreaker, which is going to be Lucio Ball, which is kind of interesting. I don't know exactly why they went that route, but that's a whole different discussion. So in regards to the team, so for the Atlantic Division, they drafted Malik Forte, Sideshow, Golden Boy, Mr. X, Doa, Ubershouts, and Bren. So, we can see the Brenji, or maybe the Widow.
No. He said he will bring out the Bren Widow.
Which he's been practicing.
He doesn't know. He said he doesn't know if the Brenji is, appropriate for this type of event.
Oh, so you're saying that he wouldn't want to have to enforce the slaughter rule.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And for the Pacific Division, we have Reinforce, Crumbs, Zoe, Semler, Monte Cristo, Puckett, and Hexagrams. Okay, so one of these teams has a former pro player.
Still a pro player. He's on the World Cup team.
This is true. So with that in mind, Edinar, does that give the Pacific Division the edge in the Talent Takedown?
I mean, just because, I think yes. Just because on the Atlantic Division, I mean, all right, so outside Bren, I don't really know much about if any of the other players are good. Like, I mean, Bren's pretty good. Yeah, like, Bren is pretty good. I don't know anything about, like, Doa or Golden Boy or Malik. I don't know how they can play.
Mm-hmm.
But like when you go over to the other team, you have Soy, who she actually plays quite a lot, and I hear
With
she's
Puckett.
very
She plays
yeah. I
the
hear
duo.
and I hear she's very good on Diva. You have Reinforce, who literally is an ex-pro and is on an Overwatch World Cup team. Like that alone is just like, all right, going with the Pacific team on this one. I mean, I would like for them not to have Monte Cristo on that team, just because it can annoy me at times. But I think the Pacific team is gonna win this one.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see like what roles everyone's going to be playing. I'm pretty sure Reinforce said he's actually going to be playing DPS for the Pacific Division. But
I mean,
like
that would be nice. That would make it fair.
fairer, yeah.
Yes, fairer.
For me, like just based off of the synergy, like I would have to tip the hat to the Pacific Division in this case. But like I have no idea what to expect from this series or how good the game is actually going to be, but I'm just very curious to see whether or not we see the Brunji, whether or not it frightens the children and it burns their eyes or whatever, or how long it takes them to build an AKM blade, all of that. So it'll be interesting to watch, but like I know like Monty, I don't even think Monty even plays Overwatch. So you're gonna have people that are like kind of in this situation where no, they're probably not going to know exactly what to do. So hopefully, with the guidance of those that do play quite often, maybe they'll have a clearer distinction of what to do in the game. But there's a decent chance that this could just be an absolute shit show. I don't know, but it's either going to be beautiful or a train wreck that you just can't avert your eyes from. One of the two.
I mean, all right. So as far as the schedule of this, outside Lucio Ball, which honestly I can take or leave. I'm not a Lucio Ball fan. Everything on here is just entertaining as shit. 6v6 mystery heroes. That will just be fun. That's just pure fun. Let's have some shenanigans. The Widowmaker 1v1 will probably be my favorite thing to watch. Because honestly, I couldn't even guess who will win that one. Because I don't know if it's down to only people voted into the All-Star game, or if they're gonna bring in the best Widowmaker players. Like for instance, in the NBA, to be in the 3-point contest, you don't necessarily have to be in the All-Star game. Like they could invite you to the 3-point contest and not participate in the actual All-Star game. And the reason I say this is a certain Houston Outlaw player named Linkser, who is probably one of the best like counter widows in the game. So like, who knows if they're going to do that? The Talent Takedown, that will just be fun and to harass them. Honestly, I'm more interested in who the hell's going to call this game. Like, who's going to be the announcers for this game? Like, I'm assuming Jake will be. And we'll talk about that in a second. But, like, I'm assuming Jake and maybe some others will do that. Like, other pro players. And then the Lockout Elimination is just... That's another super fun game. Like, they took this whole weekend and they're just embracing the fun of the All-Star Weekend, which is exactly what I wanted them to do. Is embrace the fun out of all of this.
Right. Yeah, and I'm pulling up the All-Star matchups for the Widowmaker. So looks like we got I haven't pulled up. So we got 4 from each side. So we have Saya player and Carpe. We have Pine versus Striker. Let's see. We got Fleta versus Surefour and Soon versus Architect. So those are the 4 matches.
I'm going Soon will beat Architect. Surefour will win, so it will be Soon versus Surefour. I'm going Surefour for that one. And I have to go with Saya player all the way. So Saya will beat Surefour.
That's gonna be an interesting one, because Saya player was one of the standouts, but Carpe probably was the most consistent Widow. But that one, I think out of all the matches, that one definitely has the biggest upset potential, or perceived upset, depending on, who you would ask.
And then the next round, it's like, hey, you just beat either, hey, I beat Carpe, or hey, I beat Saya Player. And then it's like, now you face Pine. Like, son of a bitch.
Right?
like you're like, all right, it's honestly, it's like the USA versus South Korea in the World Cup. You face the best talent in the first round.
Pretty much, yeah.
So that will be, oh god, yeah, no. I need to watch all of this. All of it. All of it. Oh.
Absolutely. So obviously with the All-Star Weekend, we also have, the Genji and the Tracer skin. And I can't remember, when exactly they announced the price point. So I honestly don't recall if we talked about this last week. But initially, they were saying, okay, the All-Star Weekend skins are going to be purchasable via Overwatch League tokens. And they would be 300 tokens each. So at that price point, they would have been, $20. The community was pretty damn vocal about this, myself included. And, they decided to reduce the cost, a little bit. Every little bit helps. So the All-Star Weekend skins are going to cost 200 credits instead of 300. So they'll be $10, basically. So together, that's 400 tokens or $20. So you're able to get these skins for Tracer and Genji. That is starting August 17th, and you can get them through August 27th. So the 17th, that is this Friday, so you can get them as soon as they are up. But I want to get your thoughts on the price points. Obviously, we were kind of going back and forth on how we thought we'd be earning the skins. Did you really think it would be through Overwatch League tokens, or were you thinking something else?
No, the Overwatch League tokens was the last thing I thought they'd do, because right now you can't get them. There's no way for somebody to watch the Overwatch League and get tokens. So it drastically decreases. They're not as critical of skins to have that people will be like, I need to go out and buy these right away. They're just not. And so there's going to be less skins out there, and even 200 Overwatch League is too much. Because, when you look at the two skins, it's not like, okay, these are obviously, All-Star Weekend skins. They have nothing to do with All-Star Weekend. Nothing to do with All-Star Weekend. It's just they are available only during All-Star Weekend. So, if they would have made it 100 outside shot, but the thing is I'm not going to spend real money on these skins because, one, I don't play Tracer, two, I don't play Genji. It's just not something. Now, Tracer and Genji players might buy them, but are they going to pay real cash for them? Because the majority of people do not have 200 Overwatch League tokens sitting around. They just don't. So they'd have to spend real money. And are they cool enough skins to spend legit money on? I don't think they are. So.
I was definitely disappointed when I saw it was going to be tokens. I was like, man, you gotta be kidding me. Maybe if we're able to earn tokens by watching the World Cup, maybe we can luck out and get one of the drops in, I'm trying to think, how many hours that first group stage is going to be, because, the first day starts at, 10 p.m., and then it ends at, 5 o'clock in the morning, or, the last game starts at 5 o'clock in the morning that next day. So, it's probably going to be, close to 7 hours worth of, stream time at least, so maybe, might luck out if they're actually going that route. I don't even know. But, I know I certainly don't have 200 Overwatch League credits on my account right now, let alone 400, and, I don't really play Genji. I do like the skins, but, it's hard to justify the $20 deposit just to get him. I was really hoping it would just be, if you tune in, you can earn the skins, but nope, they didn't go that route. And I figured that since the Summer Games is going on through this entire month basically, that ruled out it being bought via in-game currency, with just like the normal credits. So a little disappointed, but I'm not going to constantly complain, because you're not technically not meant to like just buy everything, but I wish you were able to earn by watching. That way, it ensured that more people would be tuning in to the All-Star Weekend.
Yeah, I really hope you can earn Overwatch League tokens by watching All-Star Weekend, because I need more to buy not Chicago team skins, but LA Valiant skins. I'm bitter. You may not be. I'm bitter as hell. So
I'll be more bitter once everything is finalized and when we hear two more teams. But it's slowly going to creep in, and then it's just gonna be like a blood flow, really. Like it's literally gonna be a dam coming undone, right? It's just
Yep.
We'll get to that. But anyways, speaking of the All-Star Weekend, just a quick update on rosters. Since Seagull retired from professional Overwatch, he's not going to be participating in the All-Star Weekend. So, really like Bird Dad, Bird Son, both not going to be playing. So stepping in for the Pacific Division is Bishu from the LA Gladiators. He is going to be joining the team as a reserve. I like how I put reverse in my show notes because I'm just thinking of it backwards. Whatever. So join in the starting six. We have the LA Valiant player Kariv, who was initially on the reserve roster. Now he's in the starting six. So it was kind of interesting because Kariv is kind of been flex. We've seen him healing. We've also seen him as like one of the DPS carries at times for the Valiant. So I'm not exactly sure where he's going to fit into the picture here, but, it's good that he's able to get an opportunity to play rather than, just not getting to play, being on the reserve prior.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. Now, like, one thing is Seagull missing, and this isn't actually in, like, the article or reported, but I was watching a stream earlier. He flat out said, even if he was in the Overwatch League still, he actually couldn't have made the All-Star Weekend. So, like, whether he retired or was still in, he wasn't making it to the All-Star Weekend. So, don't think, like, Overwatch is not bringing Seagull in, because I think he probably would have played in the All-Star Weekend, even if he was retiring. Just because it's not like, hey, we have to practice 12 hours a day for the All-Star Weekend like you do with Overwatch League. Mm-hmm. He would have played. He just can't actually play. So Bird Dad and Bird, there are no birds in the, in the All-Star game. It would have been nice if they were to replace Seagull with Big Goose, so there would have been some form of bird.
Well, maybe Seagull's #1 fan will be at the All-Star Weekend.
Yeah, it could be, but I'm not holding my breath. But I mean, Kariv coming in, that's the guy I kind of want on my team for this Mystery Heroes. He's going to be like, my entire ladder life is Mystery Heroes. Bring it on. Like, my entire career is built on being like, hey, what random character should I play this map? Click, let's go. So, I mean, it was a little weird that Kariv... It still is a little weird that Kariv made it over... Like, I still think Tavik should be on the team. And that's just me as kind of a Mayhem fan that Tavik should be in there. Man, Tavik should be in there.
Well, they did end up taking out 2 birds with 1 stone, since both of the birds are out. But I am kind of curious to see what this other commitment for Seagull is, during this time frame. So we'll definitely keep an eye on that. But, we have to talk about expansion team news, and this one is just like a low blow.
Dagger to the heart.
I mean, it's great for all you knuckleheads, up in Canada. I'm sure this is probably pretty happy that look at a Canadian team. So according to sources close to the league, Toronto is going to be an expansion team for next season, and Splice is looking to be brought on to manage this team, similar to the role that the Sentinels serve for the LA Gladiators. So a Toronto team would mark the first Overwatch League franchise for Canada. And, Toronto is the largest city in Canada. It has a ton of major sports franchises across tons of leagues, NBA, MLB, NHL, MLS, CFL. They have quite a few. And, it's kind of interesting because Splice is an organization that had been around kind of like at the start of things in Overwatch. Clockwork was on that team initially. I know they had a few other players that are escaping me right now. But that's a team that kind of dissolved, and, we weren't really sure if they were going to be returning to the scene. Because, it kind of came before the whole talks of the Overwatch League. But, they're being brought on to manage this, and, that's, the second expansion team for NA. So, we know of 4 of the 6 at this point. Obviously, 2 of them are still being finalized, but it's not looking too good, Editor. We are running out of slots, and man, it's just I'm really doubting it now because Toronto is a major market. There's no doubt about that, but I mean, I'll be very upset if Chicago's not going to be one of these final 2, and chances are one of these slots is going to go either to Europe, Southeast Asia, maybe Australia. I don't know, it's just, I want to shake my fist, but, there's still that outside chance, but I'm not super confident right now.
Yeah, no, to me, it's a lost cause. Because I think they will open up another Southeast Asia team, or Australia. So Busan or Australia. One of those 2 will get one of the teams. I think that's hardcore insta-lock. One of those 2 places will get it. Europe will probably get another team. Whether it be Berlin, Poland. Really, there's 7 cities in Europe that will probably end up who could get an Overwatch League team. There's, like you said, there's still an outside shot that Chicago will get a team. I don't think it's feasible, which is just stupid to me. But we're not gonna go there.
We will once the other 2 teams are announced.
Oh yeah, once the other 2 teams are announced, you can expect the nerd rage from this show to be full force. Because but I can't be upset about it. Atlanta's a big enough city that fine. I'm okay with it.
And there's a ton. There's quite a few esports organizations that are or not. I don't even know if it's esports orgs, but I know there's game developers that are stationed in Atlanta, and they have some leagues as well.
You know why they're stationed in Atlanta?
Because of the awesome airport.
Exactly. They can fly anywhere with that awesome airport. And Toronto makes sense. You get a Canadian team that is one of the biggest cities in Canada.
Okay, so I have a question for you. Can you really get Canadians to get diehard in something other than hockey? And I guess to a caveat too, wrestling too, would kind of be thrown in there.
Have you seen Blue Jays fans?
Yes, I have.
They're pretty insane. It's one of those things. Toronto is a tech city right now. It really is. It's a tech city. It's why, honestly, Salt Lake City is another option. Salt Lake City is not an option for any other sports league ever. No one wants to be in Salt Lake City. But for esports, Salt Lake City makes sense. So, Toronto is another one of those cities where it just makes sense because it's so, electronically, forward, as you may put it. So like Toronto makes sense. It hurts me because I have a little bit of a beef with the Blevins. That a team is so close to him, so now he can cheer for NYXL and Toronto. And my beef with the Blevins is everyone from Heroes Never Die and Overwatch League Network has been on Around the Payload, except me. And I'm a little bitter about this. So, Blevins, if you listen, I need to come on and defend my honor. I need to take first place so we can prove Heroes Never Die is better than the Overwatch League Network cast.
Well, you know what happens if you lose, right? Like, it just further hits a final nail in the coffin.
If I lose, I tie Slambo and Spider.
Right.
So, all I can do is, do better than. But, I mean, Toronto makes sense. Like, I can't knock them for... If you would have been like, what city would get an Overwatch League team first? Toronto or Atlanta? I would say Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
Toronto was basically everyone's like, Toronto's getting a team at the beginning of the season. Or beginning of the off season.
Toronto already has a team though. They have Toronto Esports, but they just happen to be, Boston.
Yeah. Awkward situation right there. But Toronto was the one city that you're just like, okay, yeah, that makes the most sense. Atlanta was the wild card. And since Atlanta got, named first, we're just like, crap. There goes Chicago. So I don't know. It's nice that Splice is involved. Like you said, they weren't huge in the scene before. They had a decent team, never really won stuff, but I think they brought in Splice and the Splice group just because the people who bought the team just don't know shit about esports.
Yeah, and they had mentioned this slot was for $35 million.
That's actually less than what I thought it'd be at. Because it was supposed to be between 30 and 60 million was the reports. So I was thinking something 40, 45 is what it would cost. But if it's 35 million, that's not that bad.
Yeah, especially when you've seen how much money has been put back, and obviously we've seen all these sponsorships rolling in. So not really as big of a increase as we thought we'd see, but maybe that was just due to market or just the lack of bids coming in at the time. You never know. But either way, that is 4 of the 6 expansion teams that are either confirmed and or in final agreements at this point. So we'll keep our eyes posted and our ears to the ground for the next 2. So I'm sure we'll be hearing something in the upcoming weeks ahead.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully one of them is Chicago. The other one can be anywhere, literally anywhere, and I'll be okay.
Yeah, it could be a Timbuktu and Chicago named. It'd be greatest day ever.
Yeah, wouldn't be Timbuktu? Really?
Yeah, Timbuktu is named, and it's just all right, whatever. We have a Chicago team. Screw all of you.
All right, well, let's go ahead and let's move into our main discussion, which has to be the Overwatch World Cup, because if you've been paying any attention, the first group stage actually kicks off here very, very soon. As a matter of fact, it's this weekend, isn't it? Yeah, it's a couple days away.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the South Korea group stage. So first up, let's talk about the on-air talent for this event that has been confirmed. So it's interesting. One, there is no analyst desk for the World Cup group stage. There's also no Overwatch League casters featured in this group stage. So that's kind of interesting. So in regards to talent, we have Golden Boy and Malik Forte. We have ZP, Jake, which we'll talk about. We have Achilleos and Wolf, who do the Contenders Korea English stream. Then we have Leg Day and Jaws, who do Contenders Europe. So Jake is going to be serving as a color caster alongside ZP. And, you know, this event will be the first Tier 1 Overwatch event that ZP has casted since last year's World Cup. Obviously, you know, he's been doing Contenders North America alongside Jamerson. But, like, you know, this is the reason why Jake wasn't part of the tryouts or anything like that. He had other plans, and we now know what he's going to be doing. So, you know, Jake and ZP have been, you know, getting some practice reps in. And I'm really curious to see how Jake is going to do at this role. It's just a matter of how fast is Jake going to be breaking things down, because if you've heard him on comms, at times it feels like it's coming at you like 100 miles per hour, and I'm hoping he'll be able to slow it down just a little bit when it comes to the caster comments.
Yeah, no, it will be interesting. Like, this is the... Jake has come out and said he's not retiring from the Overwatch League, but this is his tryout to get out of the Overwatch League. It really is. It is his tryout to get out of the Overwatch League, but still stay involved with Overwatch. And it's a smart decision by him. How many pro sports players do you see leave their professional sport and become casters or announcers and stuff like that? Jake is taking that route. He was the first one to do it, and like, he's not a streamer or anything like that. He's just going to be the person that, like, can bring firsthand experience to the desk. And it will be interesting. I think him and ZP will make an interesting combo because maybe so with the addition of 6 additional teams, there could be an extra match each night in Overwatch League. Just with the additional teams. Like, there could be, you know, instead of the 3, it could be 4 matches per night. Like, they got to do something, because if they add that many teams, they have to extend all that. Well, if they add an extra match, they need another color commentary team. Well, what's the best way to train these people? Have them do the Overwatch World Cup. Get ZP and Jake, or ZP and Jamerson, or something like that in there to see how they do in the Overwatch World Cup, to see if they would fit together and if they mesh together for the Overwatch League for next season. Because I think if Overwatch came to Jake and really kind of, you know, drove it home to him, like, hey, let's do this. We really want you on, you know, to be a commentator, announcer. I think he would probably leave the Houston Outlaws because, one, he has to, it's less stress on him. He kind of gets a more relaxed life, but still gets to stay involved and all that stuff. So this is, I think, Jake's tryout with Blizzard Entertainment to be a full-time caster. And so it'll be interesting because I could see him and ZP meshing very well. Yeah, like, ZP is very, like, he leads people on. So,
yeah, it's also worth saying, like, when it comes to esports, career lanes are not long in the pro cycle at all. And, you know, very rarely do you see people compete in, you know, in their 30s in esports at that level, especially. So, you know, this is a good opportunity for him to kind of, you know, maybe take a little bit of a step out of his comfort zone. But, like, you know, we've seen Reinforce, you know, work on a desk, and he does, you know, absolutely amazing. I'm really excited to see him back to actually playing in the World Cup. That would be, you know, just cool to see again, to just see how he still does, you know, at that sort of level of play. And, you know, I think Jake is definitely going to bring a lot of insight to the casting. So it's going to be, you know, just an extra thing to really pay attention to. But, like, I'm really happy with the caster duos that they have, because, you know, you got, like, just international talent, really, just across the board, which is just absolutely awesome, which is exactly what you want for an event like the World Cup. Yeah. Which is going to have, you know, literally talent from all across the globe. So that's pretty cool. So the South Korea group stage is the first one up, and South Korea will be looking to defend their home turf against the likes of Russia, Finland, Taiwan, Japan, and Hong Kong. And if you haven't been watching Contenders, the World Cup is also going to be played on patch 1.26. So this is a patch that Wrecking Ball was released. As we mentioned, all maps are in the pool. And then each match is going to start on a predetermined control map. So starting with that second map, the loser of the prior map will get to select the next map being played. So map 1 is always going to be predetermined on control. Map 2 will be on hybrid, map 3 on assault, map 4 on escort, and then map 5, which is going to be the tiebreaker, is also going to be on control, but it has to be different than the first control map that was played in that series. So for the World Cup, the top 2 teams from each group stage are going to advance to the BlizzCon stage, and each team is basically going to be facing one another one time in the group stage. So, kind of like looking at the teams, we have South Korea, which is basically, New York Excelsior, plus, they have Carpe and they have Fate. Finland is a mixed roster of Overwatch League talent. You got Taimu, Linkser, Fraggy, Zappis, Big Goose, Shaz, and they have one Contenders player, which is Davin from Gigante, which is kind of a sad story in the sense that, he was the only Gigante player at the time that wasn't brought into the Overwatch League. And, Gigante went through, a number of changes. They basically absorbed ENCE Esports, which was, the other Finnish team that Gigante, always, stomped on, basically, in all these tournaments. And they would go on to win, that season of Contenders, when that happened, which was just remarkable, really, for what they were able to do in such a short amount of time as a team. And, you have Russia, which is, a good mix of, Overwatch League and Contenders talent. So for the DPS, you have Shadowburn, you have Mistakes, so that's the Overwatch League talent on that team. And then you also have a ton of pieces of Windstrike team, also known as, CIS Hope. And, that was the team that made it to the Contenders EU semifinals, but they lost to Angry Titans. You have Japan, who opted to also, take an entire squad from the same team. So that team consists of Cyclops, Athlete Gaming, who are actually in the Pacific Finals in Contenders, and they'll be going up against Talon Esports, which should be an exciting match. And then you have Hong Kong and Taiwan, who, Hong Kong has, half of Hong Kong attitude. And, some lesser-known players. I don't know if they're, from, that, open division scene, or if they're, from ladder or anything like that. So, I'm not too sure about that. So, it's basically a big question mark. I'm not sure. And then Taiwan also has part of Hong Kong attitude, and then it also has some pieces from Nova Esports and Maki Esports, so a very mixed roster, but it's just kind of unfortunate, for those 2 regions, yes, they all play, in the same, Contenders, but, you only have, 3 and 3 from that specific team, spread across these 2 countries, so, it's going to be interesting. Obviously, the heavy favorites are South Korea and Finland. And that actually is going to be the match that closes out day 1, which is, without question, the biggest match, because it's very easy to say that whoever comes out on top of that one is 99.9% going to win that top seed in this group stage.
Yep, 100%, yeah. Whoever wins that will win the top seed. Plain and simple. It's a two-horse race for the top spot. So, yeah.
So with
go ahead.
I was gonna say, with that being said, who are you favoring in that specific match? Because we saw how New York's season kind of unfolded, and there were some slow adapting attempts that came a little bit too late. I think it's safe to say, a lot of stubbornness even Are you at all concerned with South Korea kind of like going into the World Cup just due to, how things kind of like went down in the Overwatch League?
I don't think there will be an upset. I think there's a chance. Like, I'd say a 75% chance South Korea wins. Like, there's still a shot that they don't lose. Not a good shot. Because they're just too good. They're just too good of a team. So yeah, I don't think there's a chance South Korea loses any map this entire stage. Finland's good, but they're not South Korea good. So yeah, no chance.
All right, so you're predicting South Korea to go undefeated. So obviously, they're the top team. So I want to get your projections on the rest of the field. So obviously, we think Finland is going to be that second team. So I have Finland going 4-1. I think they'll make pretty quick work of the other countries here. My Discord like latency is kind of like going all over the place, so hopefully you guys can hear me all right. But for the rest of the field, like, where do you think these teams are going to fall? Because obviously, like, the middle of the pack is probably going to be pretty closely contested between Russia and Japan. But who do you think is like really the dark horse in regards to this region? So let's say if Finland doesn't make it, which of these other teams is the one to like kind of keep an eye out on?
I would say Russia. And the reason I say Russia is because of their DPS. You take Mistakes and Shadowburn from Russia, and if those two pop off, they could cause problems for a lot of teams. Even Russia versus Finland. If in Russia versus Finland, if Shadowburn and Mistakes go off, there's a chance Russia could beat Finland, and I think they need to beat Finland to make it to the next stage. And it's possible. I don't think it's likely, but it's possible. But if two characters we've seen in the past pop off at the same time, it would be Mistakes and Shadowburn. So, I mean, Shadowburn was arguably the best player outside Flower in last year's World Cup. Like, Shadowburn was just like, that's where everyone heard about Shadowburn. Like, nobody really knew Shadowburn before that, but now Shadowburn was like a household name after the last World Cup. So, yeah, Russia would be my number one team that could upset. Not upset South Korea, but upset Finland. Like, how about you? Between Japan and Russia, who do you think?
Well, that's the thing. Like, Japan, to me, is missing their star player, AKTM, who was, like, one of their, like, standouts from last year. And I think because of that, like, yeah, like, that specific team has done really well. I just feel like they're missing a little bit of that bite. And, I was a pretty big fan of the tank line from Serious Hope. So I feel like between the space that they create and just Shadowburn, being one of the real carries of the World Cup, Russia should get the advantage. So, kind of like going from top to bottom, I'm expecting South Korea to get the win over Finland. So South Korea would advance with a 5-0 record. Finland going 4-1. Russia, I have going 3-2, losing to Finland and South Korea. I think Japan will finish 2-3, picking up wins over Taiwan and Hong Kong. And, Hong Kong is just a question mark to me, like, because I don't really know too much about, some of their roster. I feel like that's going to be the winless team out of this region. So I'm expecting Taiwan to pick up that win over Hong Kong. So you'd have Taiwan going 1-4 with Hong Kong going 0-5.
Yeah. The one thing I truly hate about this Overwatch World Cup thing is that a lot of the teams have to play twice in one day. I am not a fan of it
Right.
at all. Like, you look at day 2 and day 3 for this. Like, day 3, Japan plays back-to-back games against South Korea and Finland. Well, They're going to lose to South Korea. They play Finland next. They're going to be worn out. There's no doubt about it because Finland only plays one match that day against Japan. Well, Japan just played South Korea, the best team. Like, they 6-7 hours of Overwatch for one single team should not be allowed in the same. So, that's one thing I didn't realize that beforehand until I started looking at the actual matches. But that's kind of shitty.
Yeah, there's like 5 matches per day, basically. But, like, you know, kind of like looking at it, like, you look at, I mean, you mentioned Japan. So, like, they start the first, like, they're like the final match on day 2, which is at like 5 a.m. our time against South Korea. But that match against Finland is actually in day 3, and it's at 10 p.m. that following day. But, like, still, like, it's still technically back-to-back, but, you know, there is a pretty big gap in between. But, man, it is going to be a long day of Overwatch when you consider that it spans, you know, 7 hours from the start of the first game leading into, you know, the final game. So, realistically, you know, you're looking at potentially 9 hours of coverage. That's a lot.
That is more than I'm willing to watch an Overwatch. I like watching Overwatch. I think 9 hours of Overwatch in one day is a bit much for me. So I think they need to stretch it out over 4 days. Shorten the amount of time each day, stretch it out over 4 days. It's not like they don't have time, honestly. Like, the Korea matches are this weekend. The next matches are in, 3 weeks?
Yeah, I mean, part of that's just due to the All-Star weekend, but yeah.
So, yeah. It's just weird.
Yeah, and then, you know, when we go into the other group stages, then they're like 1 week after the other, too.
Yeah, it's just weird all around.
All right, so that being said, kind of like looking at, you know, the field, like, what matches in particular are you most looking forward to seeing? Obviously, like, Finland versus South Korea, you know, day 1, final match for day 1 is a marquee match. But are there any ones that you're personally, like, invested in seeing?
I would say Russia-Japan will be a very... Because whoever wins the Russia-Japan match will be we still have whoever wins that will still have a shot to make it. Whoever loses that is out. So that's honestly the most marquee matchup in the entire bracket for me is Russia versus Japan. Because I think those are the third and fourth teams. And they play, I think, if this is to be trusted, they play the first match on day 2. So Russia versus Japan, and then that's followed by Finland versus South Korea.
It's the third one. It's just, you're looking at our local time, so it's confusing you a bit. But it's the third match in that one. I mean, it starts really freaking early because a lot of these matches happen overnight because it's taking place in Korea.
Okay, yeah. It's the first day of what would be August 17th. But that's Pacific time. So, yeah. So, but, I mean, regardless, it goes Russia versus Japan, and then the next match is, my second favorite match is Finland versus South Korea. So that will be 2 matches that I'm very interested in that there is 0 chance I will actually watch.
Yeah, for me, like, I'm really looking forward to the Finland versus Japan match. Like, I really like the Cyclops team. I've been trying to pay as close attention to them as I can in the Pacific Division, and this team is very scrappy. But, like, I think, like, when you look at the field, like, if they can beat Finland, like, that would just be monstrous. So, like, Japan is really, like, that dark horse team that I'm pulling for, but it's a question mark of whether or not they can contest with the powerhouse teams in this region. So if they can have a good showing against a Finland or South Korea, you know, that could tilt it in their favor to maybe ease their way in, but, you know, it's going to be an uphill battle for sure, especially, since, they face South Korea and Finland back-to-back, so, yeah, that's definitely going to be a hard duo to prepare for within those, trying to think, like, how many hours it is in between, because it's 5 a.m. on day 2, and then they play at 10 p.m. on day 3. Regardless, like, playing back-to-back is definitely going to take its toll, let alone facing the 2 best teams in that region.
Yeah, it will be stressful no matter what, but I think they can actually pull. I think they're good enough to pull through it. They're decent.
All right, well, with that being said, guys, we're going to go ahead and get out of here. My sinuses have been flaring up, so I'm getting, like, super nasally. I'm sure that's coming through. But regardless, if you guys want to help us out, one of the best ways to do that is to leave us a positive review over on iTunes. We're always looking for ways to improve the show and just make for a better listening experience. And we do have a new review on iTunes, as a matter of fact. And that is a 5-star review from MatrixMan94, who says, great podcast, great content. Definitely one of the best podcasts on iTunes, hands down. I don't know if I would go that far, but, it warms the heart,
I mean, if he would have gone best Overwatch podcast on iTunes, fair enough. I'll take that. Best podcast on iTunes? We appreciate the high praise. I'm not quite sure of that. There are some pretty decent podcasts out there.
You don't know. Like, maybe he or she only listens to, like, 2 podcasts. You never know.
If you listen to podcasts and you only listen to 2, we need to have a talk.
Fair enough. But anyways, we always appreciate the kind words and any reviews that we get. We also have, Overwatch Recall. We plug this every week. That is our Overwatch League Path to Pro podcast, listen. We got, like, a podcast directory. We got episodic listens posted every Sunday. So you can follow it on Twitter at OW Recall. It's also on our website at owlnshow.com/weekly recall. But Adonar, why don't you go ahead and let our listeners and viewers know where they can get a hold of our podcasts over on the social media.
All right. Well, you can reach us on email at hndoverwatch@gmail.com. You can see us on Twitter at hndoverwatch. We do have a website that is owlnshow.com. And then we are streaming presently live right now on Twitch, which you need to be here so you can see all my weird face mannerisms at twitch.tv/OWLNshow. So we are Twitch affiliates, so you can support the show by subscribing to our Twitch channel and unlock our network emoticons. Thanks again to everyone who has been watching our shows live and interacting with the chat. If you'd like to catch us live, we're broadcast 2 nights a week. So we have Overwatch League Network Mondays at 7 p.m. Pacific, Heroes Never Die, this show, at 5 p.m. Pacific on Wednesdays. And then host streams will be held on Fridays and Saturdays, generally, at 7:30 p.m. Pacific. We are on Discord at discord.me/OWLNshow. You can come chat with all of us. And then we are also on YouTube at Overwatch League Network. So we're getting close to our custom URL. If you could help us out by subscribing to the channel, we'd greatly appreciate it. All our podcast episodes, top plays, other videos can be found there. So all the awesome videos that Spider does about new heroes and Hamster and his love for the hamster will be on there. You can find me on Twitter at EdinarOverwatch and on Twitch at EdinarOW. Totem, where can they find you at?
Well, I am over on Twitter. That is at Little Bluebird at Simply Drunk CTR. And of course, I'm here 2, 3, sometimes even 4 nights a week. Now more so 2 or 3, since we're kind of setting the back cap on the back burner for now, since Overwatch League Network is focusing on World Cup stuff. And, some Tier 2 stuff. As, we Slambo and I got a little emotional talking about, the story of Runaway on Monday.
The Runaway.
It was a journey. And the only time where all of the hosts on OWLN were cheering for the same team in the final, which is...
Yeah.
That never happens. But anyways, guys, that is going to do it for us here tonight on Heroes Never Die. Again, this has been episode number 124. I am Totally Drunk, joined as always by Edinar, and we will see you guys back next week. Have a good night.
Have a good one.
Thank you for listening to Heroes Never Die. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at HNDOverwatch and join us on Discord at discord.me/OWLN show.